Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 132. Rittenhouse verdict defines our bubbles. In a thoroughly tried case, and in this writer's opinion, one that should have been more thoroughly investigated before ever being remanded to trial, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all charges of violence. In a case that, on the face of the facts and evidence, became an obvious case of self-defense, the national reaction is a head-scratcher. The verdict and subsequent exchange of words and ideas is a clear definition of which bubble you might exist within, or it may show those who are still able to process rationally and not be swayed by ideology. At the one end of the spectrum are the Second Amendment extremists, the types that think the highest and best use of their firearms is to stand up to tyranny. While the opposition to tyranny is noble, perhaps one of the noblest pursuits in this tired world, that is not what this is all about. Rittenhouse was defending property of family members and friends and seeking to provide aid to those in the path of so-called peaceful protesters. This is a simpler, though also noble, application of constitutional rights. The other side of the dialogue is revealing the over-the-top attitudes that so many on the left have engendered. To honestly believe, after a cold hard examination of the facts of the case, that this was somehow racially motivated, or that Rittenhouse was hunting for black protesters, as some news sources have claimed, is simply beyond delusional. The first fact to be convoluted in this case is the nature of the Black Lives Matter group that assembled in Kenosha that evening. To say everyone there was peaceful is erroneous. To say that everyone was present to loot, burn, and riot is also fallacious. But the facts stand that at least some of the group assembled that night were exhibiting mob behavior. Property damage was in the millions. Businesses were being burned and looted. It matters not that some were there to protest peacefully against perceived injustices. That would be their constitutional right so to do. Mob elements were in action. What matters legally is that a percentage of the people gathered were there to create havoc. And aggression was shown to local people and property. It was clear that the numbers of protagonists were greater than law enforcement could handle all at once. And from the perspective of basic principles of self-defense, that is enough. The interesting fact follows that Rittenhouse was by no means the only armed citizen in the area. Both other property owners and members of the mob wielded arms also. The fact that Rittenhouse was forced to act in self-defense is readily apparent both by video evidence and the testimony of those involved, including the one person he shot who survived. The young man went to render assistance and found himself chased and hounded in very threatening ways by elements of the crowd bent on his harm. He was being beaten mercilessly when he resorted to firing in defense. The other fact is that there is nothing racial about the incident. The shooter was white, the perpetrators attacking him were also white. The fact that this all occurs under the umbrella of a Black Lives Matter protest does not automatically create a racial incident. Every media personality, every politician, every celebrity, every university president or diversity officer that paints this incident as a tragedy to race relations and evidence of racism in America is deluded at best and most likely a liar of profound import. For our media to spend so much time and effort to continually weave such a false narrative reveals just what a nefarious disservice their agenda is. They are nothing less than rabble-rousers, hysterical criers of wolf, hoping to cite and inflame the emotions of their listeners at any cost. Truth be damned. If there was any shred of credibility left for our mainstream media prior to this, it should be rapidly discarded in the wake of such manifest drivel. If you believe that Rittenhouse is guilty of anything, and that somehow our justice system failed, you are living in a bubble of the utmost fantasy, an artificial environment of social justice pulp fiction. You need to wake up, smell the coffee, and learn to look objectively at the world around you. You are likely the same person who claims to believe in science, yet when forensic science triumphs in our courts, you universally declare a gross miscarriage because it disagrees with your ideology. Shame on you, and shame on anyone who thinks that poor 17, now 18-year-old needs to suffer through any more trauma. You are the problem, not young people like Kyle Rittenhouse. Justice finally held sway in a court of law in a blue state. Well, hallelujah to that. And may every trial be so thorough to cover the actual facts in the future. It will be a perverse retribution when Rittenhouse lawyers up to extract maximum civil damage from all the deluded mouthpieces that defamed him in the process. Good luck, losers. May you also receive your just deserts. Thank you for being with us today, and as always, have a blessed day.